A group of us decided that we would go for this beautiful walk along the coastline. What we didn't realize was that something amazing was about to happen. Have you ever noticed how, depending on how you're feeling at the time and what's going on, there are several different potential characters or personas that you have? Now, this idea has been explored extensively in psychology and neuroscience, so there are many different theories and ideas around the concept that within each one of us we have several different characters or personas. But I've found it very helpful to simplify this understanding down to the two main, what I see as being the two main characters, and that is your small self and your higher self. Your higher self is your best self. In this video, I'm going to explain the difference between these two selves and how understanding the choice that you have between which one you will be can absolutely transform your life. On a recent retreat that I ran, I saw a perfect example of this in action. So I had been teaching the group of women on the retreat about this concept, and I took them through an experience where they connected and absolutely embodied and felt and just fully connected with the highest version of themselves. They got to see that that version of themselves is already within them, and that they had evidence, so much evidence of times in their life where they had absolutely been that version of themselves. So they felt this empowered sense that they were connected to and could easily choose at any moment to step into that highest version of themselves. So during some of our free time on the retreat, a group of us decided that we would go for this beautiful walk along the coastline, and we wore our swimsuits under our clothes so that we could have a dip in the ocean afterwards. What we didn't realize was that something amazing was about to happen. Now, I'll tell you about that shortly, but first I want to explain a little more to you about your small self and your higher self. These two versions of yourself, they represent the difference between fear or empowerment, between self-absorption or love, between limitation or boundless potential. And in every moment of our lives, we get to choose which version of ourselves we're going to be. So in its simplest form, we get to choose every day and in every moment of every day whether we're going to show up as our small self, full of fear and limitation, or as our empowered and loving best and highest self. And this is especially true when we are challenged, when we're feeling challenged. That's when it really comes fully into play, and when we most need to remember this. Our small self is the part of us that is dominated by fear, insecurity, and self-absorption. It's the part of us that wants to play it safe, that believes that we're not good enough, that holds ourselves back. When we allow our small self to dominate, we limit our potential and we miss out on opportunities for growth and for connection. And you might have noticed it's exhausting. It causes us to feel very much out of alignment because it's out of alignment with our true best self. It's out of alignment with the truth of our heart and what we really desire and what your higher self knows is right and good for you. And the overthinking and the worry and the anxiety that comes from living in the small self is absolutely exhausting. But your higher self represents the best version of you. She is courageous, loving, empowered, and resourceful. And this version of you is capable of way more than you are probably giving yourself credit for. This version of you prioritizes love over fear, compassion over self-absorption, and courage over complacency. When you can tap into this higher version of yourself, you experience your highest potential and live life so much more fully. The beautiful thing about these two versions of ourselves is that we get to choose. And it's not a one and done decision. It's an ongoing choice. It's something we need to remind ourselves of every day. Here are some practical steps to help you consistently choose your higher self. Self-awareness. Start by noticing your thoughts, emotions, and reactions in different situations. Recognize when you're operating from your small self and when you're operating from your higher self. And especially notice how you do this when you're challenged. When you have difficult situations that you're facing, notice what your default is and start to become aware that you have a choice. Pause and reflect. When you're faced with a difficult situation, anything that's challenging you, pause and reflect. Is my response coming from my small self or my highest self? Is this coming from fear or love? Choose love over fear. Remember, you have the power to choose love over fear, empowerment over self-absorption, and growth over limitation. Remember, you have the power to choose to shift your mindset. Practice self-compassion. Treat yourself with the same love, kindness, and understanding as you would anyone that you love dearly. Forgive yourself for your past mistakes and focus on your capacity for growth. Cultivate positivity. Cultivate a positive mindset by focusing on the practice of presence, gratitude, and positive self-talk. And surround yourself with people, environments, and resources that uplift and inspire you. Now, earlier I was telling you about something that happened on a recent retreat after I'd just been teaching the women about this concept and they'd been really embodying and feeling into that higher version of ourselves. So we went for this beautiful walk together along the coastline, and then we went for a lovely dip in the ocean afterwards. It was pretty cold, but we all went in and we had a fantastic time, just chatting and swimming and splashing around. And it was just so beautiful. But what we didn't know at the time was that for one of those women, it was her first swim in 20 years. So this woman, her name is Janine. She gave me permission to share her story and her name. She had recently just got back from a long trip around Australia. She'd been to some beautiful locations. And during that whole time, she'd felt too fearful to get in the water at all the different places she'd been to. But now feeling into and connecting with this version of herself that she realized is already in there. It's not something out there that she needs to work hard to get to. This version of her, this version of you is already in there. And she was simply able to connect with it. So by stepping into that version of herself, she was able to overcome a 20-year fear. And she told me it was a very powerful moment and that she couldn't get over how peaceful and calm she felt in the moment and how much joy it brought her at that time and every day since. And she said, now I know I can tap into my powerful self anytime I need to. I'm connected with my powerful self and I can use that and activate that anytime. And she said, you really can overcome your fears if you trust. So let Janine's story inspire you. If she could do it, you can do it too. So this concept of our small self versus our higher self reminds us that we have the choice to shape our reality through our daily choices. By consistently choosing your higher self, you will free up so much wasted energy and you'll contribute more to the world and express your fullest potential. So remember, you get to choose. Embrace the power of choice and let your higher self guide you toward greater fulfillment, empowerment, and love. And now I'd love to hear from you. What's one thing that you can do that demonstrates the power of stepping into your higher self instead of staying stuck in the fear-based small self? Comment below. If you liked this video, remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And to get my free ebook and video on the 3 barriers to inner peace and the 1 solution, then go to the link in the comments below to kellyhine.com. Thanks so much for listening. I will see you next time.